Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from around the world. Welcome to Web3 Warriors, episode 76, featuring Galen Hogg, the founder of NFTO, which is a Toronto-based NFT community, really pushing things forward and connecting with artists and creators on the blockchain in Toronto. Welcome, Galen. How are you doing today?
Hello, hello. Not bad. Not
Hello.
bad. Thanks for having me on the show.
Awesome. Thank you for joining. I'm really excited about this opportunity to pick your brain a little bit about what's happening in Toronto and a little bit of backstory. We met at the Blockchain Futurist Conference a few weeks ago now, and it was really cool, being able to connect with your community at a satellite event, really, on the first day of the conference, or actually the night before the conference. I mean, it was cool because you had a little gaming dungeon in the basement, which was pretty awesome, with a Web3 game called Beat It, which we have on the screen right now, which was really cool, just kind of enjoying it and being able to play a little bit of Web3 games that were actually fun. It was kind of like a Smash Brothers type of game. It was pretty impressive. So just a little bit of backstory there. But yes, welcome everyone to Web3 Warriors. I am David Karoma, your host. I go by Chrome in the Metaverse. And today we're going to be looking at community building in Web3 and speaking to Galen about really what's the focus of NFTO, which is again, Toronto-based NFT community that's got a lot of interesting events and has been doing a lot kind of pushing the space forward, I think, since 2021. But Galen will give me a more detailed kind of background on that. But I think the idea of using NFTs for community building and using NFTs for really helping to promote not just artists, which have definitely been able to benefit from having art on the blockchain, but also creators and builders, gaming developers, for example, but other types of creators in the digital space, and really bringing them together and seeing a lot of synergy and overlapping. And it's really kind of an interesting creative space. And so I think there's really no limits to where community building in Web3 and in NFTs can really go. I think we've been talking about on the show and in some of the other community rooms that I've been in, the idea that collaboration in the metaverse and that collaboration on the blockchain in more immersive digital spaces is going to be kind of the way of the future and the way that people really connect, collaborate, and build and really come around the technology in a more, I think, fruitful and beneficial way and kind of less speculative way. And it's not really as much about, necessarily making huge gains, but really finding the value in the technology and being able to take advantage of the technology for the good of the artists, but also for the fun of the collectors and the people engaging with the digital assets that now have this kind of new value. So we hear a lot of people talking about it being a bear market, as it were. It's definitely a slower time in the markets in crypto in general, but especially also in NFTs. And, the question of, is the metaverse dead, is out there a little bit as well. We've said on this show often that the issue is speculation, that there's a lot of people that have speculated on the metaverse and kind of hyped it, and it hasn't lived up, at least yet, to those speculative costs. So definitely the prices of a lot of metaverse plots are way down, but the metaverse is definitely not dead as a concept, and NFTs definitely are not dead, as we've seen a lot of different creators and artists and builders continuing to work in the NFT space and actually find a lot of success and new avenues for potential and growth and opportunity in the NFT space. So with all that, that's what we're going to be looking at today on today's show, really the topic of community building, and we're going to hear from Galen about what they're doing at NFTO and really some of the impressive things that are coming out of Toronto, which, coming from myself here in Winnipeg, not really as much impressive things to talk about, not as much innovation happening, not as many developers kind of widely available. So I think Toronto is a really interesting hub for the blockchain, obviously being the birthplace of Ethereum, and Vitalik Buterin, Ethereum's creator, might have something to do with that. So without any further ado, Galen, thank you again for joining. I definitely look forward to hearing a little bit of your insights on this topic. But maybe before we get into all that, could you share a little bit about your background and, what brought you to Web3? Thanks.
Yeah. But before I get into that, I just want to say, we were talking about gaming before we went live, and now we're talking about metaverse. Have you ever seen the YouTube videos of GTA 5 role playing?
Yes, definitely seen a lot of those. I spent too much time on Twitch to not see those.
the metaverse has been here for a while.
Exactly.
We're just waiting for the on-chain metaverse to come around.
Exactly. With all the digital assets attached to real world value, owning them in your wallet, that's the next wave. But definitely the metaverse has been around for a while.
Yeah, we just need to somehow convince gamers, traditional gamers, that they should actually own their own assets. For some reason, they just don't want. They're like, no, we want Rockstar Games to own our assets.
Yeah, they've been convinced that's the way to go. I'm perplexed as well. But you know, when I first started this podcast and I launched it on Twitch, and we're still obviously here live streaming on Twitch. Shout out to anybody checked in on the chat. Feel free to join in and ask any questions. But definitely the gaming background and the idea that all gamers are going to love Web3, they're going to love the blockchain. You know, it factored into that, and it has not panned out that way as of yet.
No, I mean that goes back to obviously. I mean, if our users aren't familiar, it's just that really negative connotation with NFTs, like they're a scam, and it's all that speculative nature, and people just getting rugged all the time. And you know, it's actually probably a good segue into how I got into NFTs. It's like I was a casual crypto trader for years. You know, I bought into probably both bull runs at the wrong time, like previously.
It happens.
Actually, not last one. Last one I made a little bit of money, but
There you go.
very casual. When I saw people trading monkey pictures for, you know, tens of thousands of dollars at the time, I was like, what? Fuck this. This is crazy. Until the one time I looked up, you know, Googled what is an NFT. And that night I bought my first NFT. I jumped into my first Discord community. It was a Toronto NFT project called, oh, I'll remember it in a second. Damn, that's embarrassing. But dope project. And that's when I kind of really like started to learn about the aspect of Web3 and NFT communities. And I got so hyped to just to be a part of that. And it was during COVID. And then I think I met my co-founder of NFTO at an NFT Goat. I don't know if you remember, if NFT Goat Studio, they're like big into the NFT art community here. So they do galleries and they have these digital screens you can put at your events. So if we met at the NFTO event, all those screens were from NFT Goat Gallery.
Okay, and that's just a Toronto-based kind of gallery developer, or screen developer, or?
No, they own all those screens, but they just throw art shows and kind of help promote NFT
cool.
artists on their Twitter Spaces and all that.
Nice.
But yeah, we met at this live event, and my co-founder and I at the time, we're just like, why don't we bring the NFT communities out of Discord and start meeting in real life? So we had a meetup, and I think our first meetup had 13 people. So we're like, all right, let's like spread the word, and we'll get like 30 people out to the next one. And so we booked a room at a bar for 30 people, and about 130 or something showed up.
Oh, snap.
And we're like, oh damn, like there's a spot for this. Next day registered as a company, and then just started doing meetups, and then that turned into like education. That turned into parties, kind of like the one you were at. And if you were there during the day, we did education for the music. Music.
A friend of mine was there. I arrived a bit later that day.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, it was an all-day event. But yeah, it just kind of grew from there. And I've always been a community man. Like I've lived in the same building in Parkdale for 20 years now.
Oh wow.
And you know, all of our neighbors and everything, we walk down the street, we know everybody's name. There's hugs, there's high fives, there's like hollering from across the
Good to know those
road.
kind of communities still exist, right?
Yeah. They're putting up condos everywhere trying to smoke us out, but we're still here.
Nice.
Doing cookouts and all that on the front and doing cold plunges in the winter. It's an amazing community. So that's kind of when I fell in love with the NFT world, because I saw that kind of that community aspect, that collaborative nature that I'm sure you've experienced.
Definitely.
Where you're like, you meet, you know, a guy at your event and he has a podcast. Hey, you want to come on? Like, hell yeah, let's go.
Let's go. Exactly.
And any other way we can collaborate, like it's whoever, you know, I always say yes first and figure it out. And if I can't help you, I know somebody that can, kind of thing, you know?
No doubt. And how has that kind of event planning side of things gone? So, like you said, it was kind of exponential growth. Obviously now with the bear market being a little bit slower, are you finding that it's a little bit more difficult? But based on what I saw at your event, it looked like a really fun time. It looked like you guys were still able to kind of continue to push the conversation forward. So how are you feeling about the kind of event side of what you do right now? And what are you looking at kind of planning into the future?
I mean, I didn't think I was going to be an event planner at all in my life, and luckily, when I was a musician. I worked a lot of events through the restaurants that I worked at, but in the bear market, like, yeah, things are slowing down. I'd say the most significant thing that slows down is sponsorship money, because I don't take sponsors from banks, and like I've turned down I've turned down more money, sponsorship money, than I've taken on.
Wow.
If you're a sponsor at our event, I want your team there, and I want you to be able to have conversations with like these Web3 enthusiasts, right? The community's not for sale.
Right. So not just slapping logos, just anybody's logo on an event.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you're not going to contribute, if you're not going to come out and have fun with us, then that's, we don't want you at the show. Like, we had Telos NFT, which is, it's the Telos Foundation, the Telos blockchain is really cool because they have a bunch of different sections and that they're working on within the space. And then they've got this NFT section. And, I met them at an event, and they were just like a bunch of dope people just like us, just out there having fun, trying to make a difference, trying to build community.
Yeah.
So it's like, bam, yeah, like, I don't look at that as a sponsor. I look at it as a like a partner, right?
Collaborator, partner, yeah.
A collaborator, sure. Yeah. And so, even though the money slowed down, all that happens to us in the event space is that we just have to, and the not only the money, but generally the enthusiasm that the space slows down. So what you have to do is just kind of focus on making every event better than the next one. Always try to give them something new, and like, it's a fickle audience. The NFT crowd and the Web3 crowd, like, they're,
it can be for sure.
If you've been through a bull run and gone to events, like, Web3 and NFT events are like the dopest parties. They're so much fun. And when the money's flowing, like, these people have gotten used to some pretty spectacular shit. So if you're not going to like have big, bright, shiny, flashy objects and throw money around, you got to get pretty creative. So if you're having talks, you got to find people that are not only just going to sit up and regurgitate the same old shit that everybody knows, and you can't do 101s unless you advertise them as 101s, but you have to find real thought leaders. We're going to have a real conversation. And that's going back to what we were talking about before, is that if I don't send people questions, you didn't send me like, hey, we're going to talk about this. It's like, are you going to come on the show? Yeah. So you've got to bring up people who can answer any question and have an opinion, and somebody who might, if you're like an expert in Web3, if you're on my panel, everybody in the audience is probably an expert in Web3, right?
No doubt.
So you come with a different angle, maybe blow someone's mind, make people think about things different. So those are the types of things I think about, especially in a bear. Like, you can't half-ass anything, or you're just gonna.
Yeah, in a bear, especially, your audience is just a bunch of either builders, developers, or the real diehard collectors that haven't gone anywhere, But everybody really knows the tech, especially I think during the bear. That's when the builders are out, Yeah, that's amazing. Good points all around.
It's also, for that reason, it's the most exciting time to be at an event.
I think so.
All the bullshitters and like scammers and posers, like grifters, they're not with us anymore, right? But they'll come back, and
right.
And right now it's like there's just less noise. Everybody you're talking to is really doing it. So
genuine people are here now. All the snakes got burnt out.
Yeah.
Either they got their bags and ran away, or they got burnt and lost all their money, and now they're gone. And they're mad, and they think that NFTs were all a scam the whole time, and this was just a whole waste of money. What was I thinking?
I mean, those are probably the ones that are gone. I think the ones that got a good bag out of the situation are out here buying up coins.
Probably,
and prospecting different projects and whatnot.
We're looking at the long game for sure, for sure. Would you say that there's a kind of overarching mission for NFTO? Is it really just kind of like you said, casually holding events, holding educational panels, and just slowly pushing things forward, or is there kind of like a overarching kind of goal and mission for the organization?
So this is fluctuated a lot. We started out running it kind of like a company. We were doing a lot of consulting and events and building more towards like the NFT NYC, NFT LA kind of thing. And then I started going to those conferences, and we were traveling all over the world and just going everywhere. And something didn't feel right. It didn't feel like us. It didn't feel like Toronto, and it didn't feel like that mission was like everybody was like, yeah, that'd be so cool. And then that same person would be like, yo, those conferences fucking suck, and like this is a problem. This is a problem. And I started to realize, like, if I can't do it better for them, I may as well not do it. And then the conversations really kind of started changing after a while. And you gotta listen to people, right? Like we are very much like, someone from the community says, hey, I want to do this, we're like, okay, let's see if we can make it happen.
Nice.
But you also like, I'm a UX designer, or I used to be a UX designer before I got into Web3.
And UX is user experience for anyone listening and not aware.
Yeah, and when you're doing UX research, you learn a lot about how to ask a question and how to receive information. So I kind of got to the point where I was realizing that even though people wanted us to be a big conference, they didn't actually want us to be a big conference. So we pulled back a little bit, and then the market bottomed out, and things just got a little easier because now we have a chance to build. So I was planning on dropping like a membership, a free membership, NFT collection, and then was listening to the community a little bit more, and they wanted like a big collection. A lot of these people want to, make money and be a part of something big. So we were leaning towards that. And then all of a sudden, the market kind of like bottomed out, and now we have like these projects that are ready to go when I'd say almost ready to go when the market recovers, and we could do something really big for everybody. But right now people are chilling. Like there's no real mission. It's keep hanging out, keep building, keep connecting people. It's just,
That's
if
awesome.
someone has a project, let's shed some light. And if somebody's looking for a developer, let's find them one, and it's just a bunch of people kind of helping each other at this point.
That's amazing. That's what it's all about. And I mean, you've got, 500 people or something like that in your WhatsApp chat, and you got a good community on this event page. So you definitely got, good groups of people kind of plugging away and trying to help build the community.
It's interesting. That's the other reason I want to do a token, is because we've got like no social media presence, a small WhatsApp group, like relatively speaking, and people here or there, but there are so many community members that I only see at events. There are a lot of community members that I only talk to on Instagram or only over video call. And we kind of want to get everybody under one roof and actually see how big and united we are. So that would be
some kind of token launch would help. And it also just shows who really wants to buy into the vision and help push things forward, and who's kind of just hanging out, just chilling, watching.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking free, but maybe like 10 Matic or something. I don't know, just to see, like, if I can't get
even
10
the free
Matic,
ones though, it's the legwork, right? It's even just taking the initiative to actually claim the free tokens and actually stay engaged, and even that, it shows you something.
I feel like I'm the only one out there buying people's tokens and NFTs right now. It's hard to ask people to do stuff in a bear.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, I did want to mention Telos. That was an interesting. I've been on a couple of their Twitter Spaces now since Blockchain Conference, and one of them, I think, or maybe both of them, you were on. And so it's really interesting platform. So they're talking about embracing the new era of gaming and digital asset ownership. They've got a pretty cool kind of platform. As I was mentioning that we had played that Beat It game at your satellite event there in the basement, which was really cool. I think you were giving away ledgers. So that's hardware wallets for anyone who's not aware, where you can store your Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So you actually were playing Web3 games to win an item, which was really cool. So looking at the gaming space, and shout out to Grayson in the chat. Anyone else who wants to ask a question, feel free. But Grayson had brought up the point that, onboarding into these games right now, it's like more than a 30-minute task, and in some cases it's also costly, like there's additional fees and stuff, and that's part of the hurdle also maybe in the adoption of Web3 and blockchain and NFTs when it comes to kind of the wider gamer space. So I was curious, what do you think about that? And then do you think that Telos is an example of like an organization that's really doing what needs to be done to try to get more gamers kind of embracing the technology? But yeah, so what do you think about those hurdles to onboarding? And then we can talk about Telos a bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, Telos is we've talked a lot about this actually, and the people at Telos are kind of on the same page as me. So that'll kind of answer that question. But and I've said this before, but the whole onboarding thing, was it Grayson who was in the chat?
Yep.
Yeah, Grayson, you're 100% right. Like the onboarding thing is the biggest problem in Web3 anything, not just gaming, right? And my opinion on this is we need to stop onboarding. We need to stop education. We need to stop these things from being the barrier to entry. If you want to log in with your Google account and that creates a wallet, and you don't even need to know that there's a wallet there, but if you can also be self-custodial in a way, like you learn a little bit more. Oh, this is a wallet. I'll go get my own keys and take control if I need to. Something like that needs to happen, I think.
No doubt.
What nobody really needs to know that your in-game item is an NFT. I guess like I've said this before too. It's like we go on to Spotify to listen to music, not MP3s. We go on to YouTube to watch content, videos, not MP4s, right? As soon as we stop saying NFT and it just is, that will be like onboarding complete. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
Nobody needs to know what's going on under the hood except for the people who are running it. Like, this is an NFT, which gives it the benefit of all of these features. But to me, it's just like my neon army jacket in the video game I'm playing, right? And then
No
if I don't need to know it's an NFT to know I can sell it. The gaming company can just say like, hey, this is yours. You can sell it if you want. Like, you own this.
There you
go. The jargon is great when you're at an event around enthusiasts, but like, why are we trying to onboard and educate the masses, right?
Right, exactly. Not everyone has to be fully engaged with the technology and wanting to understand all of the intricacies of how the technology works. Grayson said that was a genius idea, and like that he agrees with the idea of not really putting front and center the concept of the blockchain or of NFTs, but really, like you say, it's about the ownership and the fact that you can actually own these in your own sovereign wallet. And even like I've been thinking about this whole concept of Web3, and now you hear people already talking about Web4, Web5, whatever. And I think that we're not really past Web3 until what you just described is the reality kind of at large, right? Until these Web3 wallets, whether it's MetaMask, you got Coinbase wallet, you got different competing wallets now, right? Until those wallets are so commonplace, so ubiquitous that, people aren't really thinking about the underlying technology. They just know they can own things in this digital wallet. They can own things that they have in, their Metaverse space or in certain video games that they really enjoy. And that's all they need to know, is that there's real world ownership there, right? And that those should be commonplace. Like, do you think that we're slowly heading towards a future where like those wallets are, maybe they're rebranded, maybe they're just demystified somehow, but they basically become as common as like social media and Twitter?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really leaning toward, we're not even going to be saying the word wallet. It's going to be a login with your email. It's going to be whatever. But yeah, I mean, as long as we all know why blockchain technology is advantageous in, X amount of industries, and as soon as that is just realized by all the big companies, and like Starbucks people, they don't know they have NFTs. They have badges on
Right.
the app, right?
Yeah.
And so the bigger companies are doing it right, and like Walmart uses blockchain for their supply chain issues and solves a lot of problems, right? So it's like, it is happening. It's just this kind of like self-custodial world where we all really like it and we're in control. That's kind of like right now it's like a nerds club, and we want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll all be there, right? I mean, I think Web3 right now has a problem because it's very, very tech based. So we've got these Web3 companies, and this is just like, I see this every time, and it's great because I get to learn about new things. But these Web3 companies are coming out just like, look what the technology can do. This is going to change the world, but they're not solving a real world problem, right?
Right.
So
Right.
all these like great companies happening in the Web2 traditional space, and we've got all these amazing tech forward companies in the Web3 space, but we need to catch up to our slow down, I guess, to the Web2 space where we realize like, okay, look, let's start a company. It's gonna solve this problem? Can Web3 help? Sure. Yeah, great. So let's make it a Web3 company, but we don't have to tell everybody it's a Web3
Right.
company.
Right. Exactly.
And if you get to this Web3 part and you're like, shit, this company's doing great, we don't really need to go on chain, like that POC on chain, that's not really being used. Okay, don't make it a Web3 company. Go have a successful company and nerd out with your friends in Discord about Web3. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like,
Right.
I think we'll all get there, and Web3 will fit in its appropriate slots where it actually makes a difference.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I can definitely vibe with that. And to your point about, the nerds gathering and the conference, I learned a lot from it, obviously connected with amazing people in the community like yourself, others that are kind of more on the art side, some that are on the developer side, and really just the confluence. Obviously the conference did bring people from outside of the city, but I did talk to a lot of people at the conference that were actually living in Toronto and doing development work or building their different brands out there. They're the shout out to the crypto babes and the crypto chicks, but I think the crypto babes were the ones that are actually based in Toronto, right? I don't know if the crypto chicks are also based in Toronto, but they were two really interesting organizations kind of advancing women in blockchain, women in Web3. But looking at the overall conference, how did you find it? And do you think that Toronto is special in that way? Like there's some interesting kind of focus on innovation, and maybe it has something to do with the history. But yeah, how did you find the conference, and how do you feel about Toronto's place kind of in blockchain evolution?
Well, the last time I checked, and this is probably like a year ago, maybe, Toronto was number 5 in the world for Web3 people employed in Web3 and overall investment in Web3. So that kind of gives you an idea of like how big blockchain is in Toronto. I don't know if those stats are still as they are, but or as they were, but it kind of gives you a vibe. And Vitalik started Ethereum here. Crypto Chicks, they have, I don't know, like 30, 40 world global chapters, and they started in Toronto.
They did. Nice.
Vitalik's mom is a co-founder actually of Crypto Chicks.
Gotcha.
And yeah, my connection is through Audrey and Tracy, Audrey Nesbitt and Tracy, who started the Blockchain Futurist Conference and ETH Toronto. And just meeting those people, was amazing. Kind of just opened up the world of like how big this Toronto scene really is. And the Futurist Conference is a great example of that. I've been to conferences all over the world. I think I enjoy the Futurist Conference the most out of all the Web3 things I've been to. It's like, it was spectacular, great speakers. There's always something to do, and it's kind of does celebrate Canadian Crypto Week and bring us all together here in Toronto. So I mean, I was super impressed with the conference. Everything Tracy touches turns to gold. So
awesome.
How did you enjoy it?
I really was. It was my first time. And how long has that been going on? So Tracy started it how many years ago, do you think?
Shit, before I knew about it.
Right.
So it's been on for quite a few years.
Yeah,
and I know ETH Toronto was even before that. So
right, ETH Toronto, of course. Yeah, no, I was very impressed, and I wasn't expecting it to be as dominated by actual Toronto natives, like people that were there in the space, building, growing. So it was like, I would say out of all the people I talked to, probably at least 60% were actually living in Toronto. And then, it was only the other ones that were like there on behalf of big brands or big kind of companies that generally were from outside of Toronto. But yeah, overall, that's what I was most impressed by. Definitely, like I guess I should have expected it, like you said. Vitalik's born in Toronto. Ethereum kind of launched in Toronto. There is a lot of developer community there, but I didn't realize that it was quite as active as it is. And now looking at NFTO, looking at crypto chicks, crypto babes, there were a few other kind of community-based organizations that were just doing really impressive work, trying to kind of push their specific different niche, their different kind of target audiences forward, and help with the education as well. But yeah, I mean, it was huge. It was impressive.
A gang. Toronto is an absolute gang. Whenever we go, like I remember I was trying to sneak out. If you're at a conference overseas or something like that, and you're well known in Toronto, in the Toronto scene, you got to like sneak around. If you want to have a quiet night at a restaurant, you got to like go around the main conference area, because I remember my first day at Solana Breakpoint in Lisbon, I was trying to like sneak out I'm like, I just want to have some fresh fish, I'm by the ocean, and kind of like walking through this little side street where I thought maybe I could find a little cute cafe or something. And all I hear is like, NFTO. And I look back and it's just like a gang of Toronto people. They're already shit faced on the corner, having a great time, and whisk us away. I think I gotta say, I think ETH was born in Waterloo, which is nearby.
Okay.
Because I'm going to catch shit for that.
Technically, the dev team in Waterloo, I'm from Manitoba. You're all Toronto to me, but yes, definitely.
That's why I say Toronto when we're traveling. If anybody asks, it doesn't come up that often.
Yeah.
But there's always somebody in the crowd that's going to be like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He wasn't born in Toronto.
Born in Waterloo. Not quite exactly. Toronto. Vitalik was born in Toronto, right? Or at
very
least
close to Toronto.
He was raised in Toronto, Greater Toronto area.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, that's really cool. I was curious about how many other Web3 conferences you've been to. So was that as part of NFTO, like really trying to push the brand, and you just attended these other events? And yeah, you were saying that Blockchain Futurist definitely to you is kind of the most impressive. But how do you find attending the different kind of Web3 events, and is it always worth it? Do you always kind of pick up something new and interesting?
Yeah, I mean, I really like it. It's always fun to kind of go and see what's happening in other countries. And like, I mentioned Lisbon, it's kind of a hotbed for Web3. But when I'm traveling, it's usually for leisure, but once I started kind of getting into Web3, once I started the NFTO community, I started working a lot in Web3. So, if I'm advising on 3 different projects and they're all in Germany, then I'm going to Germany, right? And you go and you meet, sometimes you're meeting the team you've never met before, and you're sitting around, and then you get to see everybody in their natural kind of, let's go to a party and hang out. So that's a good motivating factor for me. And then I always try to do something in NFTO, like do like a little pop-up event at a bar or something like that. Get the hit the WhatsApp, hey, who's in LA right now, let's do this, and bring all your friends that from outside of Toronto. Awesome. And just do like a little kind of like meetup.
And it's kind of cool that at any of these Web3 events, you can kind of throw that request out on the chat, and who knows, maybe 3, 4, 5 people are actually at this random Web3 event, and it's not like you coordinated it before, right? You just happen to all be interested in this space, so there's a good chance some of you are at whatever random Web3 or NFT event you happen to be attending, right? So that speaks to the power of community for sure, and the power of, because what I've seen, because I'm connected to a couple DAOs, and definitely when we show up at NFT NYC, or we were at Art Basel in Miami, and there's 10, 20 plus of us, like being able to show up at any one event is worth something, right, to these events, especially the ones that are maybe not as well attended, and not only showing up, but actually understanding the technology, understanding what it is they're trying to pitch, and how useful it could be for NFT developers, or even just for artists or creators in the space. But being able to speak to that, I think, is worth a lot, right? So it's interesting. You're slowly building this community that's only going to become more and more valuable and more knowledgeable over time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. Yeah, the power of community is not been exemplified this well since I don't know when it was really necessary. Like technology drove us apart in so many ways. Like real conversations started to fade. Everyone's looking at their cell phones. People aren't going out. People are just texting each other. Video games brought people kind of online together a little bit, but like I've never seen anything like this. Web3 and NFT culture in general just kind of all brought us back together, and a lot of us found that missing that hole that was in our life, especially during COVID. Like without NFT culture, I would have been very lonely.
I can't even imagine. I don't know,
person.
like without Clubhouse and NFT culture for me personally, because that's where it kind of brought me into NFTs was through Clubhouse. But generally, just the idea of actually giving this real world value to the digital space. Because I was looking at gaming, I was looking at just enjoying, playing video games with friends and still seeing the value in that just from a pure content creation and community building perspective, but not really understanding this new technology. And then when I understood what the metaverse on the blockchain is and what the metaverse or what the NFTs allow for these digital assets, in gaming worlds, in digital worlds, that was just mind blown. And then I was down the rabbit hole for sure. And like you said, for it to come at a time of COVID, and honestly, that's probably a big part of what helped with kind of the explosion of NFTs. A lot of people had those COVID checks coming in as well. But I digress. Looking at these IRL events, like how important do you think they are to the kind of forward momentum of Web3 and NFTs? To your other point, maybe it is usually nerds connecting, people that are really passionate about the technology, but I can't help but think that the ripples that kind of are sent out from every one of these events impact the local jurisdiction where the event happens, right? But also tends to, have a network effect throughout, the different people that attend and their communities when they go back home, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. Like people are going to build regardless, and companies are going to happen. But one thing that you cannot kind of get past is the need for human connection. And I think it's important because I don't know about you, but like my girlfriend usually wants to punch me in the neck when I start talking about blockchain and NFTs. And
yeah, I gave up on friends and family, and my girlfriend was not interested.
And so like it's important to get together with people and be able to talk about what you're into. And like I live and breathe Web3. I work in Web3. Web3 is my hobby. Like I'm always learning about new things, and like I can't talk to those, during the bull run. Yeah, I could talk to my friends about tokens because they all wanted to know what's next.
Yeah.
But that conversation isn't the most interesting to me when I'm, thinking about the future of the tech, or, trying to support some really cool project that's not going to, make people a lot of money. So I think it's important just to get these people together because we all want to talk about what we're actually interested in, and we all want to just have real conversations about what's on our mind. And you can't for a lot of Web3 people, you can't do that in your normal friend space. So it's time to make new friends and build new communities. And IRL is for me, it was that thing that was kind of missing. So it just seemed like a no-brainer. The first NFT I went to, the first IRL NFT event that I went to, the NFT Goat Studio threw, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
We're all talking about cool shit. And the other thing is like there's the space. This might be the most important reason that it's good to build a friend group in real life that's interested in Web3 is because this space is moving fast. You can watch all the YouTube videos you want, David. Mm-hmm. You can read all the articles that pop into your news feed. You can do whatever you can by yourself in your home to learn as much as possible, but you cannot learn everything, and you're going to miss 99% of what's happening until you start building these friend groups where you're meeting up at the bar and you're talking and you realize, okay, these are really smart people. I surrounded myself with all these smart people, and they're looking at different shit that I'm looking at, and then you can just trust them. Like they tell you about something cool. I've been talking to you for a year, and we've been having beers. I trust you. I know you're smart. I know you're an expert. Okay, I'm gonna look into that because I didn't hear about that. You know what I mean?
So like, much time, right?
If you're growing in this space and if you're trying to learn, having a good community is amazing. And there's something about someone posting like, "Oh, check out this new project" in a chat group in Discord or WhatsApp. That's just not the same as getting to see the excitement on someone's face when they're describing something that they're investing in or building or whatever. So you learn faster, and you grow that trust with people, and that network. It just expands your mind, and that in an emerging technology space, like that's super important.
Yeah, that's everything for sure. It's interesting how you don't even think about that. Like, first one I ever attended was NFT.NYC, and yeah, it was the same thing. Like, my mind was blown after like a day of just Web3 conversations, hearing from developers, builders, seeing amazing art. And obviously I also had thoughts about what was lacking. And, you know, I always like to see a little bit more emphasis on culture, a little bit more emphasis on real like social impact and like, you know, grassroots kind of potential to make real impact in corners of the world that genuinely really need the impact. And I still think even at Blockchain Futurist, although there were definitely some speakers to those topics, you know, why not have like a whole corner of the convention or the conference really dedicated to like cultural impact, like how blockchain has actually helped, you know, this school get built in Africa, or this, you know, art community in India take, you know, a whole new initiative, a new angle. So that's one part of it that I want to see. And so I come away from it always thinking like, oh, what would be nice to see? But also thinking like about all the different development and all the amazing people that I connect with, and you know, being able to show up there. I already had, you know, like you mentioned, a network of friends through Clubhouse, through different communities, and so yeah, like you say, knowing that there were a handful of people that were going to be there that I could connect with and, you know, go for beers or just hang out and talk about everything we learned during the day is everything as well. You know, not soloing it, not having to be on your own, but having those friends that are mutually kind of interested in the same kind of technology, I think makes a big difference for sure. So thanks for that. That's really great points.
We are greater than me, and it's like when you get together with a group, it's like at one of those conferences, they're like, "What are you going to see?" Okay, cool. Tell me how it is. What are you going to see? Right. Okay, cool. Tell me, what part are you going to? All right, cool. Maybe I'll see you there. And like you just spread out and divide and conquer and just soak everything up like a sponge, and then kind of meet at the bar after and be like, how was your week last week? What was the highlight? And then you get on these podcasts and these live streams, and you talk to people and you're like, oh shit, I didn't even know that was happening at that conference. That's really cool. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah. Did you have any thoughts towards the big SHIB announcement at the conference? You know, the idea that they're launching their own metaverse. They claim to be the first digital sovereign nation in the world. It was quite grandiose language. I was like, I was both impressed and a little bit leery.
Well, I watched their token dropped 10% when they did that. They had that weird thing where they're like, someone died, and she was like, oh.
That was really weird.
Yeah. She found out that her dad died via getting all of his SHIB tokens directly deposited to her wallet, which I've always been like, that's a great feature, and that's you know, I want to make sure that the beauty of the smart contracts is, you know, if I die, I want a smart contract that just pumps, you know, all of my tokens to my brothers and my girlfriend and my mom or whatever. Like, that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that smart contracts do. They cut out the middleman. Like, I don't want people having to go to a lawyer to go over the details of my will when it comes to, like, these things could go real quick, right? So I really liked that idea, but the way they presented it was so bad. Like, you're having someone die and she's
it was
crying
such a weird decision. I was like, why did this just turn all dramatic? What's happening?
Yeah, so like, but I like the SHIB organization, and I like that they're shooting, you know, for the moon. They started off as a meme token, and then they got this like massive influx of capital, and some people can just become like a Dogecoin and just exist and, you know, talk a little bit about building, right. And then and some people can, and you know, run with that, and I think that the fact that they're trying to do something big is really cool. I'll probably buy up a little bit more. I'm expecting like NFA. I'm expecting a big dip in the last quarter before the year of the halvening. You know, so yeah. I'll be scooping up some SHIB for sure, just in case. And I would love to like see where that kind of technology goes. I like people pushing the needle forward. I still think they're doing it in a very like Web3 way, but they seem to be like Web3 for Web3, which I'm also very cool with. Like, yeah. I think one thing, you know, I say this mass adoption shit is going to happen when nobody knows we're using Web3. Well, I still think that that's mass adoption for the normies. But for us Web3 folks who really love the tech and kind of love the culture, we'll still exist. We'll be in the SHIB ecosystem of Web3, not the Manulife Center fucking
right.
You know what I
The
mean?
Wealth Simple ETFs and the the Goldman Sachs blockchain approved. No, definitely looking at as decentralized as possible, and I was impressed with the language around what SHIB was aiming for. That video was clearly took a lot of money in development, and I think they could have had a little bit of a different creative direction, but overall it was pretty inspiring. The idea that they just have so many developers on chain committed to like an on-chain metaverse, committed to on-chain governance, the different tokens. And usually I'm leery of governance tokens and the way that these things are working, but they really do lay it out very transparently and accountably, and clearly they're working on something. So like you said, definitely not financial advice, but I'll be looking for some SHIB during that dip, and I do have a small SHIB bag as well, full disclosure. So I'm interested.
Hey Emmy, what are you expecting to happen with SHIB? We're gonna go to the moon?
You owe me $200.
So I think I like bought in and 10x to my SHIB bag, and then I got my girlfriend to throw $200 into it because I thought it was gonna keep mooning, and then it totally dropped.
Worst timing possible.
She's hanging on. Yeah, she's hanging on to like a $30 SHIB bag, and we're waiting for it to go back up. So
it'll get back up there. Just hodl on, right? Hodl on.
Yeah. No, I love trying to get her involved in things, and that was definitely a fail.
That's so funny. Yeah. That's how it works though. As soon as you pull someone in who's been skeptical, like they've got to learn the hard way,
Yeah,
no guarantees in this space.
And they say if everybody at your Thanksgiving table, like grandma's asking how many Bitcoins you have or how your Bitcoins are doing, that's the time to start selling off your bag. Well, I've learned something when I'm getting super excited about something and I want to bring other people into it, that's when I should start selling off my bag. Because
are you going to have the emotional wherewithal to really do that though? Are you going to be all excited and like, let's go?
Yeah, this time I will. Yeah,
Okay.
I've learned a lot over the last couple runs, so
nice.
I'm feeling like this is the one. You
got to share your insights in the WhatsApp chat. I'm glad to be remotely able to join and tap in with the Toronto community, because we don't have anything like that here in Winnipeg. Like I mentioned earlier, it's I've done a few different blockchain workshops, Web3 workshops, and I'm lucky if I get like 5 to 10 people showing up, and people don't want to pay for anything either, which is understandable. It's a new technology and they don't know. But yeah, overall, do you think that Toronto having the history it does, and obviously there's so much activity happening, is leading to actual like genuine dev innovations? Like, are you seeing like real nuts and bolts developers kind of being ahead of the curve basically when it comes to what they're working on in Toronto compared to maybe the wider Web3 space?
I mean, I'm seeing a lot of really like this goes back to what I was saying before, is that I come from like a traditional product background, solving problems, doing real research to make informed pivots and decisions, and there's not a lot of that in the Web3 space. It's like building tech and then trying to sell your business without solving a problem kind of thing. But in that kind of experience, I am seeing a lot of really cool tech being built, and things that like I said, like us nerds are getting really excited about. And so I think, yes, there's a lot of innovation happening, but you're still seeing most of the innovation come from like the traditional tech hubs like China. Every time, like when I was talking to like Hong Kong DAO, and we were actually talking to during the Blockchain Futures Conference, Ace Social, Ace DAO, and Hong Kong DAO got together, and they had the founder of Animoca, Yatsu, I think his name is, and you just hear how they're talking and how they're innovating over there, and it's
They
just
were at
like,
Blockchain Futurist. The founder of Animoca was there. Oh snap!
yeah, man. I was
Dang,
talking
that
to
would
them.
have been
I
a
used
good
to do
one to
some
bend his ear
consulting
there.
for them too. I was doing Web3 strategy for them too, so I got to
Nice.
meet the man behind my checks,
Oh,
behind my crypto transfers.
no doubt.
But yeah, so when you're talking to people from Silicon Valley, it's the same thing. San Francisco, Hong Kong, you get to see like these. They're really kind of pushing in a let's go out there and make a difference, solve a problem, make some money.
Mm.
And something still feels a little small about Toronto in that way, that it's just like a bunch of builders getting together and kind of doing really cool shit, but not really pushing that envelope. So like I still think there's a lot for us to achieve here, and a lot of room to grow. But you know, as far as Canada goes, I think definitely we're the hub, and I think the real companies aren't coming out to events and not really talking about we're from Toronto. So there is like some big company, like big Web3 companies coming out of Toronto, but it just doesn't feel like we're there yet, you know?
No doubt. Oh man. So what was the biggest takeaway out of that talk with the Animoca CEO? If you could, one real interesting piece that shows them kind of being ahead of the curve, because I mean they're definitely in Web3 gaming to win it. They're not messing around. Although they're definitely also in the metaverse space more broadly, not exclusively gaming. But yeah, they're definitely a huge known quantity in the space. And also being in Hong Kong, and China's got their whole anti-crypto kind of like, at least externally they're anti-crypto, behind the scenes who knows what they're working on.
Well,
Hong
Kong is China's like crypto experiment. They're just like, we're gonna make it legal over here, and we're gonna try to make some money, we're gonna do whatever while still maintaining this like kind of hard face anti-crypto Chinese kind of government aspect. They're like, oh, Hong Kong though, yeah, no, it's cool, like you guys do what you do. And well, I think the biggest thing that I think especially like the Animoca, just Hong Kong in general, like Animoca's working with the Hong Kong government. They contacted a bunch of us through the consulate, and they're like, we'll fly you over to this blockchain conference next year. And we've already started that conversation. Like they want to be a hub, and they are going hard in the paint. Like this is something that we are working on with with Blockchain Futurists, with like blockchain events.ca, with all the different DAOs in Toronto. We kind of did that thing where we're trying to get like a big futurist report going, and we're going to use that to draw some attention from the government and maybe lobby some things. And so we are making those moves right now. But it's happening at a very grassroots level, and we don't quite have the support that different governments have. So we are working on it, and as a big group, like us little guys are all kind of forming like Voltron over here, and we definitely want to be that active movement in the Toronto but Canadian space, where we become a hub, just like these other massive hubs are all over the world. They're trying to bring people to their country, to their cities, to
most definitely
build
Canada's we're trying to position ourselves as pro innovation, right? And I think what you're talking to there is a connection between Hong Kong, which is a hugely economically vibrant kind of, like you said, in the crypto space, very innovative region, and you connect that with Toronto, where you've got the huge Ethereum connections and the wider community out to Waterloo as well, the whole area, real innovation hub. Those two, I could only imagine, what can come out of a kind of Twin City partnership like that. That's fascinating, man. So that's really cool that Animoca's kind of seen the value in your knowledge base as well. And how's that kind of side of things as far as navigating, strategic advisory or any kind of like those type of jobs in the space? Early on, I think there was a lot of grifters basically taking advantage of being able to kind of act like they were such experts when they were not quite really, immersed in the space.
God, yeah.
So obviously spending the months and years that you've spent in the space and being able to advise certain projects, like what's that like? I'm curious, as someone who's definitely interested in maybe looking at that side of things, because I'm sure I could help a couple entities out there.
Oh, 100%. Like just talking to you, you could do the job, right? I mean, I was working with I'm probably still not allowed to talk about it, but I was working with a very famous Disney brand,
Oh wow.
and fuck, Disney's. It's been absolved, but they just did not know what the fuck they were talking about, and Disney's lawyers didn't know what they were talking about, and then Disney's they had a Web3 like section. I think it was like Web3 innovative something section of the Disney company, and
Right.
these guys were fucking idiots. Like they didn't know what was going on. It's like they hired a bunch of Web2 people, and they're like, okay, let's like strategize in Web3, you know. And so there was definitely room for smart people who knew what they were talking about, and I definitely got to work with some big ass companies. But it is like dealing with like a giant Web2 company's legal team is you know a little annoying, and if you kind of at one point you might wake up and be like, I just want to work in Web3. I don't want to like babysit these Web2
Hey, if the
companies.
checks come in though, you know.
but that's it. Like I was, you know, making an average wage as a designer. I was a mediocre designer. Started designing in Web3, you know, and realized that I was kind of like a top dog strategist, and it shifted from like, okay, I have a professional coach, and she was like, and it sounds like you don't want to design anymore. Why don't you just do consulting? And so all of a sudden, I like 2x my wage in, you know, 2 months after I decided to stop designing, and
Amazing.
that was amazing. And then I decided to drop everything. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make more money than I've ever made. Maybe I'll like do that. And then like 6 months into that, I was like, nope, I'm gonna drop everything and start a company with with a friend from NFTO. And so now I'm like bouncing up and down into the overdraft, living that startup life, just
Hey,
you know, finding money where I can. And it has been a really cool experience actually being able to consult for these companies. When you start working for like the Animokas and whatnot, these Web3 companies, that's really fun because you're
I
like
could imagine.
you're amongst your peers.
Right.
Everybody knows you don't
People
have to
actually
stop and
know what they're
explain
talking about. They
everything.
don't want.
Yeah.
They're not just looking to get the bag, right? Like, help us get the bag. You know, there's a Web3 bag out here. We know, but we don't know what Web3 is. Just help us get the bag. You know.
Well, that's it, and that goes back to like it's just a company at that point. It's
Right.
a Web3 company, but you're not all talking about blockchain because you all know what the possibilities are. It's like, okay, what are we going to do? Like, what's the strategy? And then it just becomes product strategy and not Web3 strategy. Web3 strategy is like getting into a room with 20 people from a corporation and explaining things to them, and then having their legal team say, no, we can't do that. Or, you know, my favorite is we have 250 million Instagram subscribers. Of course we're going to sell this collection out. And you go, no, this is a rug pull. And they're like, no, we're not going to rug anybody. They just learned what rug meant like 2 weeks ago. We're not going to rug anybody. It's like, no, if your collection volume goes to 0 on day 2, if your trade volume goes to 0 on day 2, that's a rug. Like you will be chewed up. It'll take you 5 years to recover from that. And then watching them go, no, we have got all these followers. It's going to be great. And they just don't understand how the Web3 world works.
Some of them had to learn the hard way, make that launch.
Trade volume goes to 0 on day 1, and then I thought it was day 2, but it was day 1.
Wow.
And then you go, fuck, okay, I guess we're just not going to work with these guys anymore. So
that was fun while it lasted, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned briefly kind of talking to government as well, right? And looking at that. And I definitely saw or actually heard from people I spoke to. And I shout out to, I think it was Ontario Music you teamed up with at that one event, right? Or Music Ontario. I heard about different initiatives or government programs essentially funding, innovation hub here, women in tech there, basically different niches, and there's different funding models. So in some sense, I know that there is money out there for tech in general, innovation, and even certain demographics within tech and all that kind of stuff. So I know that there is that happening. But how do you feel about Canadian regulations right now and kind of the way things are moving? And what would you like to see to kind of help spur things further?
I mean, I'm not a regulation nerd.
I've
always
forgive me.
Yeah, no worries at all. That's one of those I defer to my crew, and they keep me like up to date and apprised on like on the new changes and whatnot. But I mean, I think for the most part, Canada is just behind the States, kind of following their lead, and I think the SEC and is, you know, in a lot of ways even further behind behind us.
I was gonna say, I think they're the
it's
ones
just like this,
behind.
yeah. So it's an interesting kind of like dynamic where everyone's looking like we're in Canada, out here trading, you know, ETFs already, and in the States they're, you know, they're behind. They're still trying to sue each other. They're trying to figure it out. It's been baked into the, you know, the political system, and so up here I think we're doing well. We're moving a little bit slower than I would like to see. I would like to see some like innovative regulation that makes sense and not just like a panic. How are we going to tax this, and how are we going to fucking,
How are we going to save
you
our
know,
banks?
how
What
are we
are our
gonna save
banks
our
going to do if they're
banks?
not needed anymore, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, you see, they've got a, you know, central bank digital currency coming out for Canada, and most countries, they're all working on it. Like, people are trying to keep up. I think
Yeah.
I think like most things, but when it comes to this, I think there will be some aspect of a mainstream that will be regulated, and then there'll still be us like Web3 native early dogs out here kind of like living off to the side. I don't think a digital currency is going to affect, you know, what's happening to us. Just like I don't think Starbucks NFTs and Reddit NFTs are gonna fucking pump our bags. You know, like I think
Yeah.
we're still gonna live over here, and we're gonna see adoption, and we're gonna see regulation from the government. But I don't know that it is going to kind of affect the way I live. Like,
No doubt, no doubt.
I've never cared about the law. You know, I don't. I've never, you know, like
There you go.
I'm a moral person.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
out there like
Not worried, right? Not
hurting
scared, not
people.
looking over your shoulder or anything.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be that much different for me when it comes to regulation in Canada.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, no, I'm cautiously optimistic when it comes to regulation in Canada, and having worked in or currently working in the fintech space as well, and looking at that intersection of kind of payments and fiat currency and cryptocurrency and how we can kind of make them all gel well. It's not really that complicated, and a large part of it obviously comes down to security concerns that are valid, but they also exist in the traditional bank space, right? And this whole kind of notion that somehow they're so much more complicated and so much more risky and problematic than your average bank transactions is just not true. And if anything, it's actually more transparent than your average
Way
bank
more
transaction.
transparent. I can't,
right?
like, if an average person like me can go look at your wallet and see what you've been doing, you know, maybe that's going to be an issue, and we're going to see some more privacy things or whatever. But like, if something goes wrong at the bank, if there's like a ledger error or something like that, I don't know what to do. I gotta call somebody. I gotta, you know, learn about the Swift system because I was working with this. Like, it's like
Yeah.
it's so complicated, and it's like I was working for an NFT marketplace in LA, and they were, I loved them and they were awesome, but the American system and the paranoia of like working in crypto made it so like I would take 20 days to get paid. I sent my first invoice. And this isn't their fault. This is not me trashing the company that I work for. This is me just thinking about like their government regulations and everything. So I would have to send them an invoice, and like my first invoice, I just sent my ENS name, like,
Yeah.
sent, you know, I'll take USDC, ETH, whatever. And they're like, no, give us your banking information, sign up for Bill.com. So their bank took forever to process, then Bill.com took forever to process, and then it took like 10 days to send to my bank. And it's like, this is a crypto company. Like,
Yeah.
talking about working with cool crypto companies, you know, I for like sponsorships and all that, I'm like, okay, yeah, here's the invoice, and like, boom, it's in your wallet, you know, like.
Exactly, yeah. And that's what I've had a few crypto clients that I've been able to get paid in stablecoin, and that was the best part of it all, is just like give them your .eth address or whatever, even your wallet address, and you're getting paid in minutes, you know, or at least like by the next day if they, you know, drag their feet on hitting send. But it's generally pretty straightforward.
We saw these like Indian cash delivery companies popping up because people were getting docked 10% by international money transfers to send money back from Canada and the United States to their family in India. And it's like, well, they just started sending Bitcoin to this company.
Yeah.
This company started advertising. They would send Bitcoin to the company. Company would take 1%,
Yeah.
and then they would deliver it on a bicycle or like a tuk-tuk to their family's door.
That's amazing.
Like that, when I heard about these companies, I was like, what? I looked it up. It is for real. They still do it.
That's innovation right there.
Yeah, exactly. It's yeah. I think when we get into, I mean, like the Federal Reserve in the United States is now on chain, so like we're all leaning in that way,
Yeah.
and hopefully our banking system gets cleaned up. I think the tech is just so obviously better that, you know, it's going to be absorbed by anybody who wants to stay competitive.
Yeah, that's the hope. You know, the free market will win the day, and the innovation will win the day, really. And like, it's helping make lives easier and making money, sending, transferring, transactions of all kinds much easier, frictionless. And that story you just told, I'm not familiar with that one, but I've heard other kind of similar good remittance stories of how blockchain has basically cut out a bunch of middle people and a whole bunch of costs and time that was taken just sending money internationally. But that would be an example of the type of story I'd love to see in like a culture segment of a conference, of Blockchain Futures Conference or something. And maybe I got to try to get Tracy on here. We could have a real good conversation about it. I'd love to chat with her, as like she's like one of the real hardcore OGs too, right? Like she's been on the Ethereum dev side like since day one kind of thing, right?
Yeah, Tracy's a legend.
No doubt.
I'm so happy to have met Tracy. She's and you know what? She kind of embodies that spirit of Web3 that, you know, she put all of the local Toronto communities on stage at Futurist, and then gave us a platform to like talk to people and build that Futurist conference, that Canadian report. And, you know, you ask her for help and she'll introduce you to the right people, and you know, she's awesome. To have that such a big stage like Futurist, that's something that she's built, and to go reach out to all the local communities and be like, I want you to be involved, not like I want you guys to like send me some money so you can get on stage. No, like I want you guys to be involved.
Right.
Whatever I can do to help, like putting the local community, which is so important for all of us, on stage. So she's an OG, but she's like,
It's amazing.
She's dope for the community.
Yeah, because, you know, and it's not uncommon. Like even NYC, I've heard this complaint. Also, Art Basel Miami, where the brand is so big and it's pulling people from all over the world that the local community basically gets outshined or not even really acknowledged in any major way, right? Like you go to NFT NYC and it's not like, look at this amazing NFT community in New York, this is what we're doing. It's just like, look at NFTs all over the world, they're great, you know? And same thing in Miami, it was very much, and I've heard that complaint. That's why they actually launched Art Week Miami in kind of contrast to Art Basel at the exact same time, because they felt that the actual Miami artist groups were not being acknowledged or elevated as much, even though it was in Miami. So kudos to Tracy, because she didn't have to do that, right? Like you can have a huge conference like that, especially with, you know, kind of Toronto having the history that it has in the Ethereum space, and likely get a lot of global brands and a lot of big brands coming out, and not have to really highlight, you know, a lot of the local things. But as I said, that definitely kind of shined through everything that I was doing in those 2-day conferences. Like everyone I was talking to was actually from Toronto, building in Toronto. So yeah, really big shout out to Tracy and the team there, because it's pretty impressive.
It's a hard line to walk. If you want to be big enough, you have to take on big sponsors,
of course,
and they're going to want to pay to play, and they're going to want to do all this. So you gotta play ball a little bit. But you know, like you said, you can tell when someone's selling out, and she's so far from that. Like she's always still looking to boost the people around her. So yeah, big shout out to Tracy.
Awesome.
Let me know when she's on the show. I'll tune in.
I will try. Yeah, I'll track her down and try. Maybe you can help me with that. I want to give another shout out to Grayson, coming through with the dope comments in the chat. Appreciate you. He was mentioning that there's a Canadian stablecoin that's been launched, QCAD. Are you familiar with that? I just don't understand. Like personally, it's interesting, right? And I get why. Of course, every country's probably going to try to do some kind of actual decentralized stablecoin, and that's okay. But in many ways, geopolitically, the idea of the USDC, and maybe USDT to a lesser extent because it's algorithm based, but USDC generally as kind of a backstop, and using just one stablecoin that does happen to be tied to the American currency, I think is the way to go. And honestly, it makes sense from a geopolitical standpoint, because you've basically got all this conversation around how the world is de-dollarizing, right? Everything's de-dollarizing. BRICS is coming up with some fantasy currency that's going to come up against the American dollar, and eventually I'm sure that will happen. But if the American dollar actually backstops the crypto industry, which it pretty much does right now, right? Like you're looking at stable coins, people trade out of different cryptos into stable coins, and they're generally usually US dollar coins, right? So I think that that's actually a good thing. I don't think that we need a QCAD or any of these other stable coins to kind of be that like flat, reliable kind of, exchange option. And I just don't know that there'll be enough buy-in to actually make it viable, looking at it like from a global perspective, right? How do you feel about stable coins in general and this idea that there's a Canadian stable coin in QCAD?
I mean, I like options.
Yeah.
I like options, and it's if one organization, if you find out like Circle is been doing some shady shit, like, and you just want to put your dollars somewhere that ethically you feel more comfortable or something, like these are good reasons to have options. And then you see stable coins depegging, and like that's until these things stop happening, or until there are no bad actors in the space, I think options are always really good. So power to them. I hope they do well.
Yeah.
I'm still going to be using, like you said, I'll be using the USDC for this thing, and then I'll be using USDT to degen leverage trade on NextC. And
yeah, I was going to say USDT,
like
that depegging thing is much more common, I think, in the USDT space as opposed to USDC.
They've had some problems. But you know what? Like, don't panic. They'll recover. They always do.
No doubt. No doubt.
But yeah, no, I think the more projects that come to the market, it's going to force like a free market competitive nature, and just force products to get better. So I'm always for like hearing about new things, and especially coming out of Canada.
100%. All right, cool. So we'll stay tuned to QCAD, and thank you, Grayson, for dropping that. Another thing you mentioned is that there's a lot of talk around infinite objects right now, and these drops. I don't know if you saw the DK motion drop. I don't know if you grabbed any one or two of those. I just always loved DK, so when I saw what's his name, Medici there, really promoting him and collaborating with DK and having this drop, I definitely grabbed a few of them. I didn't go too degen with it, but I really love his art. And now apparently Infinite Objects, I don't know if you're familiar with them, have a kind of special claim window open right now for another couple days, where you can get one of their frames for only $170, which is not bad. I think that's Canadian, but it might be American. But I was going to ask, in general, and thank you, Grayson, for sharing that. It's pretty cool. How do you feel about this, turning your digital, art into a physical frame on the wall? And are you familiar with Infinite Objects? I really like them, but they've always been like kind of stupidly expensive, but they look really clean and nice. But do you have like a favorite frame option, or have you seen any, digital frames that are really doing NFTs justice?
I mean, I would love to learn more. If you want to give the audience and me a little bit more of a brief on that. I'm a little behind on these things. Like I'm really into the idea of like phygital and just like claiming NFTs for real world shit. Like I'm a member of Artbase, and I got access to that to buy a quite expensive but really, really dope piece of Jean-Michel Basquiat's early art that was actually not owned by the Basquiat estate. So I actually have rights to an original Jean-Michel Basquiat through Artbase.
Through Artbase? Is that like fractional or like?
No, so it was 500 rights were sold to this one image, but it also came with a gold record and the physical art piece, 1 of 500 print, which will be on the wall soon.
So it's kind of fractional. It's 500. So they made multiple prints of it.
Multiple prints, yeah. It's fractional, like
that's
anything
still super limited though for a Basquiat, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like I love to see people innovating and getting traditional artists into the space. But yeah, I don't know what this frames thing is.
Okay, cool. So let me I'll pitch a couple options that I've spoken two before on the show. So one, we had Sheila Darcy on the show, who is actually, I think, VP of Innovation at WIM. So WIM is WHIM, and they're another kind of NFT screen company. They've been in the digital screens space before, so it's not just for NFTs, but I think they've really adapted and kind of innovated to fit the NFT market. So, but they're cool. And so the nice thing is they actually sync up with your wallet, right? So you're able to actually say, you know, display this NFT in the screen, and it can actually sync up wirelessly with your wallet, so you can actually display, you know, any NFT basically in your collection. They do this, I believe, through Bluetooth connection, so you're able to actually sync up your art from your NFT collection with the screen. So the nice one about WIM is that they're basically almost borderless and very they're just really artistic. So when I was at NFT NYC the last time, which was my second time there, they had a whole art gallery, and all of their screens were with WIM. And one of the cool things about the way WIM works is if you have multiple of their screens, they actually automatically can help, so you can like split them up, and they automatically split the artwork, but where it's like exact in ratio. So even it accounts for like the little border line that it takes, and makes it so like the art does not get like negatively impacted at all automatically, like when the two screens go together. So that's just one of their kind of innovative kind of technological pitches that they have. But in general, just really high resolution, really nice, slick, kind of like very flat minimalist screens that again can kind of sync up with your wallet. So the main service I would say is,
you're saying I can get one like one of these screens for $170.
Well, not one of these ones. So these ones are bigger, the WIM ones, but you can get one of these smaller infinite object. And again, it might be 170 American. I'm not sure. I think that's American, but I'll send you the link though. And thank you, Grayson, because this wasn't on my radar either. But yeah, $170 for a 5-inch one, or a 6-inch by 8-inch one is not bad. So
yeah,
it might be worth it.
I got some NFTs I wouldn't mind on the wall, if I'm honest.
Yeah. So this one would be probably more of like a desk situation. I don't know if it's big enough to want to put on the wall, but you probably could, yeah. But yeah, WIM is another one I would definitely recommend looking into. And generally, I think WIM has the better price point compared to Infinite Objects, and I actually think they're nicer when it comes to being on the wall. Whereas Infinite Objects look better on like a desk piece or something like that. But yeah, those would be two that I'd mention. I just thought maybe you had some thoughts around digital frames for your extensive NFT collection, but all good. We can go on to, I have a couple other questions here. I know we're running out of time. I was curious, does NFTO have any big plans for the metaverse? Do you have any like digital galleries in the metaverse? Are you planning to, do you do like digital meetups where people can actually meet in the metaverse? Any thoughts around the metaverse?
Yeah, we're definitely going to do some stuff with Charmy Worlds. I don't know if you've met Nav Gupta from Charmy Worlds. He's got an amazing product that he's a developer from what are not Unreal Engine, but
Unity.
Unity, yeah. So he was like one of the head like guys at Unity when it came to fixing customer problems and whatnot. So he ran a big team over there. So he left Unity to build Charmy Worlds, and basically what they do is they have like NFTO.com. Don't go there; it's not mine. Slash like Metaverse or whatever. He can build portals that you can just attach to your regular website, and then in those portals you can have like a portal to like web3warriors.com/metaverse, and so we could join our metaverses and all that. So we're definitely going to start doing some meetups in the metaverse.
What was the platform called again? You said Charmy?
Charmy, yeah, it's CHAARMI.
Oh, cool.
Charmy Worlds, yeah. And so he's always like, he's one of those guys that is supporting every community in like every project, every community that he bumps into. He's just like a giver. He's always out there helping promote. He ran one of my events when I was in NFT LA. He ran my Toronto's like satellite event. And he's just building this really cool product where we can all just jump in and have conversations in the metaverse just by going to your website and going like, here, jump in the metaverse, and like boom, you pick your character, and then all of a sudden you're in this room, and it's a no code solution. They call it the WordPress of metaverse. So you can like go in and just like build, like you could do this today if you wanted. You just go in and you build yourself like an office building, and you can have like a boardroom meeting up there with your friends. So yeah, we'll be doing stuff through Charmy Worlds for sure. And otherwise, like I'm gonna try to get some involvement in a video game called Champions Ascension, as they're kind of building out their metaverse. I own a lot of their NFTs, and as an original kind of investor, I get like a chunk of land. And we're going to build the free market in that world, and NFTO is definitely going to have a presence there. So, yeah.
And what was the name of that one again?
Champions Ascension.
Champions Ascension, and that one's more of like a real gaming vibe.
They're in pre-alpha, but like they already have pro players and tournaments. It's like arena battle, and now they're doing like a PVE sort of like it's like skill based. It's very, very skill based. If you want to like get really competitive with it, so it's like moves and special moves, and you know your NFT. Everything's an NFT. So like your NFT might have like a special claw, which does a special move. Like it's fucking absolutely complex. The gameplay is really good, and the quality of the world is like very, very much almost at that World of Warcraft level, and it's only pre-alpha. So that was a Toronto company called Jam City that just got bought out. As soon as one of our NFTO members put me onto that a couple of years ago, and it's just like it's one of the only things in my bag that still goes up consistently. You know.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm definitely going to take a closer look at that. In Jam City, so it got bought out by like some VCs or Americans, or
I think they
still in Toronto.
Like $300 million or something. Some American company. Yeah,
that's what we like to hear. That's what's up. So Toronto's still making impact, most definitely, in the space. And I was just looking at some videos from the Charmy Worlds, and definitely some really cool Unity based metaverse spaces they're working on there. So definitely keep me posted on when you got your metaverse space live there. And kind of similar to this question, looking at AR and VR, right, and looking at kind of the extended reality umbrella, do you see anything kind of in that space that's really exciting? And how do you think NFTs are going to be kind of used as augmented reality and virtual reality kind of increases in adoption?
I mean, yeah, just the same way like video games. I think ownership is like the most important thing, and control of your own data, like all that web3 jargon that we all love so much. I think that should, once it hits like traditional gaming, it should spill over into popular AR VR games. AR VR, metaverse, like all that stuff it's when it feels. My thing is that when it feels more exciting to put on a helmet and go see your friends or go play a video game than it does to not put on a helmet or go out to the bar, we're going to see some real shit happen. And that's going to come up with as the technology gets better. You know, Apple is probably going to be one of the leaders in there. Like once they start getting the normies on, we're going to see better video games. We're going to see better metaverse experiences. I definitely think Ready Player One kind of world is going to happen.
And what do you think of their headset? What do you think? Is the Apple headset going to be the one to really spur some more adoption, some real adoption?
I don't know. Probably a little bit. I think we're a couple versions behind. Like, right. When it comes to this stuff, I'm just gonna wait till some of my like non-tech friends start talking about it, and that's when I'm gonna start paying attention.
When you know, okay,
because I can't keep up with everything. I got too much to learn in this space, right? So when it comes to metaverse and when it comes to, I think like I love VR. It makes me a little sick after like 40 minutes. When they solve that, I'm just gonna grab the newest headset and I'm gonna jump in. I've seen some pretty cool games. I would love to like play in some very tactical tournaments. Like I'm excited for it. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah,
I've had the same problem with the nauseousness, but also just the tech is not quite there for me yet. And I am also just not a fan of Meta, so I kind of refuse to get one of those, whatever they call their things. I just don't want to give my eyeballs to Meta. I was just like, no, I'm drawing the line, you know, like you have my phone, you have all kinds of data. I'm not giving you biometrics too. Like that's it.
That's it, man. Like that's the decentralized dream is to get away from these traditional models of selling our data without even knowing it.
Oh, it's horrible.
And I'm definitely not about to give them my retinal scan. I'll give WorldCoin my retinal scan.
Right? Yeah.
but I'm not giving Meta my retinal scan.
Did you do WorldCoin?
Yeah, I mean, well, I
because they came to Toronto, didn't they? I thought I saw that they were in Toronto.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't know they were in Toronto.
Oh,
I was
okay.
like, when I first heard about it, I was like, yo, fuck it, I'm going down to New York and scan my eyeball. I think I bought like $200 USD worth of the coin of WorldCoin, just because I like to, when I get excited, you know, I like to ape in with some healthy FOMO.
Hey,
And I
a
think
little bit of degen action, it happens.
yeah, so I think that's sitting at about $70 worth right now. So hopefully they do
Gotta
something in
love
the
it.
next bull run.
Gotta
But
love
I
it.
like people trying to push the envelope. I'm a huge just emerging tech guy, so I think AI is it always in the conversation right now. Web3 is all in the conversation. Smart contracts, right? It's all changing the world, and I think AR, VR is going to do the same when it comes around for sure. Like
Awesome.
I work for, NFTs are slow, so I work for AI companies.
Surreal.ai. Nice.
No, that's surreal.ai.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah,
What do they do?
they're a generative art AI that actually is built by artists and actually pays artists and gives artists recognition. So we're
Nice.
taking like artist signups right now to help build the pilot. The AI is amazing. They actually built it at ECC and they won top prize. And now we're funded by Sequoia, and we're pushing real hard and building like this ethical AI. Whereas, like Midjourney and DALL-E, they just scrape the internet.
Yep.
And then all that they sell memberships, and people are pushing all these images out there. Nobody knows where that image came from.
It's stolen.
So it's basically stolen, right? So at Surreal, we're getting or onboarding artists who want to be a part of this. So when you generate an AI, a spider diagram, like an AI image, a spider diagram comes up and it says, oh, this was influenced 16% by David's artwork.
Wow.
And 70 something percent of Galen's, and then this is it referenced this image, and then not only that, I could click on David's profile, I can see your art. Maybe you're selling NFTs on that profile.
Nice,
maybe you just have your art posted for like clip art. Maybe you're not even selling it, but you got paid.
That's
got paid
cool.
when that image got used, and you got recognition for it. And that's like what we're trying to build with Surreal. So
that's amazing.
Like new technologies, always like
you got to solve for that problem.
Not all NFTs, but you gotta be solving for problems. And
I feel for my artist friends who are just kind of, not all of them are concerned, and a lot of them see AI as a tool and it's all good. I'm just gonna keep my head down and keep making awesome art, and kudos to those. But I know there are some who do have a little bit of fear and a little bit of concern that, like you said, the Midjourneys, the other ones that are just scraping the internet, pulling all kinds of art from other creators and passing it off in this new, like slightly, revised version. And then other people come and call it their own art and sell it on chain and sometimes even make some money. But yeah, I feel for my artist friends. And as much as I do appreciate the AI tool, and I'm not anti-AI in general, but I do think there's something to the idea of A, moving a little bit slowly, and B, trying to actually be ethical about it. So I love that you're working with a quote unquote ethical AI company. So good luck on that. I also wanted to
send your artists my way. We'll do a call. I'll explain it to them, because we're also we're paying artists just to be a part of it. And they're a rights management company too, all on chain. So super risk free, get
amazing.
Your artists paid. And if they're pro tech, they can help build something cool. We'll do
it. Have a whole community of artists in the Clubhouse space between Blockchain Gospel, another one, Storytime DAO, that I work with. I'm sure we could put together a room, and really maybe you and another team member from Surreal AI could come out and talk about ethical AI and what you're doing in that art space. Definitely awesome. I'll follow up with you on that for sure.
Absolutely.
I did notice that you had Odd Labs little picture on your portfolio. It's from back in May, but I have been really interested in what the Odd Labs team is doing, and they're based in Toronto as well, I believe, right?
Odd Labs. Which one's Odd Labs?
So it's like this.
Where are you seeing this? Where are you seeing this?
It's on the Join NFTO Twitter. So they have their little Lula kind of sticker that they do, right, where you scan it with your AR and then it kind of comes to life and it does this whole thing. And they've been like kind of just doing kind of guerrilla marketing, I would call it, where they're putting these things up at just random places all over the world, I think, but especially in Toronto. And I just like the idea of like the real kind of, I don't know, nitty gritty kind of community level AR, like only those that are in the know understand, you know, to kind of scan certain things and see, you know, more to the world. It's like, looks like a physical piece, but when you scan it with your phone, it comes to life, and maybe it gives out like secrets and, you know, different kind of alpha that you can't get any other way. I just thought maybe you were connected to the team, or you had any thoughts on what Odd Labs is doing out there. But
I'm not connected to the team.
Yeah.
I've met them, and I really like what they're doing. And I think those stickers and those AR experiences are really cool.
Yeah.
So like, I see them out at events, like you said, they're like guerrilla marketing. They're out there hustling. So yeah, no, I do like Odd Labs. It's just there's so many company names.
Yeah,
company
yeah.
names
No,
out there.
for
I forget
sure.
which one's which. But yeah, no, they're dope. I've got one of their stickers on my sticker wall back there.
Nice. Yeah, I was
bus
hoping to
shelter
find
that
one actually while I
we
was out
stole
there, but
that has our street name on it. We just stole
nice.
a giant piece of glass and put stickers all over it, and they're definitely on there.
Solid. Yeah, no, I've been interested, and I was hoping to see some of their stuff out there, but I don't think they were that active at the conference. So, but it's cool. And Grayson was saying it reminds him of Obey stickers from back in the 90s. It's kind of a similar vibe, yeah. Final question, I really just want to give you the opportunity to share, you know, what you're working on now, what NFTO has around the corner, maybe what you're personally kind of working on and developing, anything you want to share. You know, what's next for Galen and NFTO?
I mean, we're speaking of kind of the ethos that when it's about starting companies and not starting a company that is not solving a problem. Like my colleague Randall and I started a company called BizBridge it's a tech-based approach to disrupting the horrible, shitty world of business brokers who do a bad job and take way too much of companies' monies when they help sell a company. So we're doing that. We've got an AI product that's going to make that process a lot better, and we'll be building those smart contracts out to, like, you know, cut those middlemen out. So bizbridge.io, it's, like I said, if you're not a boomer selling your business, you probably don't care. And if you're not trying to buy a business, but there is this giant wealth transfer going on right now, where we're going to see in the next 10 years all these boomers selling their companies. And it's a real good opportunity to get some of that generational wealth for the younger generation. So we're out there trying to solve that problem. And
Wow.
You know, we all know how hard it is to, like, get equity and get, like, true generational wealth. So this transfer is going to be very important. So we're out there trying to educate, build a product to really help assist the younger generation kind of get some of that advantage that all those boomers had when they were building their companies. So that's kind of what I'm working on mostly, like, you know, 16 hours a day. And then no, we got a good work-life balance. I'm just playing, but it's just always on my mind.
Yeah.
Doing some, like, strategic advisory for Surreal, and just trying to help onboard artists and build that community aspect to them. And then NFTO, like, we're in the bear market. We're just chilling, you know.
No doubt.
Do events, have good conversations, connect people. I'm always available if you guys want to go to Linktree /join NFTO. You can join the WhatsApp group there, and, you know, if you have any questions or need anybody to connect with in the Web3 world, we've got a lot of people in there that are willing to help. So just keep connecting good people and help doing anything we can to, like, grow the space. And that's the ethos right now.
Nice. That's amazing. Well, I've definitely learned about a few interesting projects. I definitely wish you the best of luck with BizBridge. And so that's kind of taking that transfer of business ownership. Is it bringing it on chain, or is it using any blockchain dynamics, or it's really just using technology to kind of streamline the process?
I mean, we have plans right now. It's very proof of concept MVP we're building, but we have plans to obviously take out some of the traditional roadblocks and inefficiencies through smart contracts and everything. But our customers aren't going to know that's happening. That's going to be all in the background. And first approach is just do a better job, you know, for the customers, the buyers, and the sellers, and make everybody happy. And you know, there will be Web3 involved, but no one's going to really know about it.
That's what's up, and that's part of that new shift that we're talking about, right? That's when the innovation's really taking hold, is when it's just happening in the background and it's streamlining and making things work better for people and solving problems. So thank you, Galen.
Grayson and Galen.
A little tricky there. Thank you, Grayson, as well, for all the comments in the chat. Appreciate you. Anybody else who's been watching in the chat, I appreciate you, and thank you. thank you again, Galen, for all of your help and all of your insights, and really teaching us about a few different projects that are happening, some that are based in Toronto, some that are in other places. And I'm definitely going to kind of bend your ear about the strategic advisory thing, because I've been looking at it and like, I'm definitely interested in, I think it's almost more so for the learning aspect than the actual like having revenue and being able to make a job out of it. But I definitely want to connect with more brands, and I do think I could probably help a few here and there. So I appreciate those insights. That's really cool.
I have no doubt that you could help a lot of people. So yeah, let's have a chat about that and figure out how to get that started for you.
Awesome. Appreciate you, man. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and until next week, I'll catch you all in the metaverse. Peace out.
Thanks, everybody. Peace.